Welcome to the Spawn Chunks, episode number 230 for Monday, January 30th, 2023. My name is Joel Duggan, and joining me this week, filling in for the world-traveling Pixel Riffs, is friend of the show, MythicalSausage. And you can find Mythical at the MythicalSausage on YouTube for live videos, as well as Empires Season 2 and Minecraft Hardcores. You can find MythicalSausage on Twitter and on Instagram at mythicals_Minecraft. We will have links to all of those in our show notes if it's too much to remember. MythicalSausage, thank you so much for filling in for Pixel Refs. It has been almost 4 years since we've had you on the show. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah, it's a long time, but I'm happy to be back. And I know Pix is right now doing absolutely nothing but relaxing, playing Pokemon. So, hi, Pix.
Episode 32 was called An Artisan Sausage back on March 25th, 2019. We were chatting in the render distance that I'm a little embarrassed it's taken us this long to get you back on the show. So I'm saying now, moving forward, we have to have more of our guests and friends back on the Spun Chunks in the coming years, because now that things have calmed down a little bit globally, I think it's a little bit easier for people's schedules. People are back into a groove. It's easier to bring some guests on here and there. Speaking of the render distance, if you'd like to hear Mythical and myself talk about things like the Last of Us TV show, don't worry, no spoilers, as well as some of the games that we play and a few other things, then you can check out that render distance. It's the extended version of the podcast. We record it live every week in our Discord that is accessible to members that support the Spawn Chunks at patreon.com/thespawnchunks. You also get access to things like the quarterly hangout and the monthly Minecraft hangout. Those are both part of the Patreon page as well. It has been a really, really fun time to do all this extra content for the people that support us financially, and we can't thank you all enough. So to kick us off, guests go first. Mr. MythicalSausage, what have you been up to in Minecraft this week?
Oh, I've been building. I've been building a lot of stuff, and I usually do build stuff, but I've been building a really huge castle, and it was just to cover up an iron farm. It's a logical geek boy design. Yeah, why not build something and put something cool on top? That's what I do. But I've been using this one tutorial by the great logical geek boy, which I love very much. I wish I could hug him. He's a very beautiful man. It's a iron farm from like 116, mind you, but it works perfectly in every single version. And if you guys have not done that iron farm, I suggest to do it. We're gonna have links everywhere, so do that one. It's my favorite. It's so easy to make, and I've been building it since 116. And I had a little bit of nostalgia building it. So I went back in my last hardcore video and I took a look back at every single iron farm I've ever done, going back to 116. So I did a trip down to 116. I built the same farm, but I put, instead of a castle, I put a little mansion on top of it. 117, I put a volcano on top of one, and that was in this Aztec ruin-like temple area. And I went to 118, and that one I built almost like a little steampunk style warehouse for it. And then I also checked one that I did on Empires SMP Season 1. And in that one, I built a giant castle. It was ridiculous. I didn't need to build it as big as I did, but I did it because I had to. And so it was fun to go back and check those old builds to see how and what I decided to do to cover up the iron farm. And then I went back to the castle again, inspired by the other ones. But it's really fun to go back and see all the different ones that I've done. So I did that recently, which was great. And then on top of that, I've been doing a lot of pre-planning for the next Empires episode. I recently went to Spain on a trip, and I was inspired. I have so many pictures of inspiration. I just didn't go there to relax. It's almost I think it counts as a business expense because I took pictures for Minecraft.
Yep,
So hopefully,
I would say yes.
tax purposes,
At least
yeah,
in part.
my tax is gonna be fine, I think, for that. So I took a lot of pictures, but I was so inspired. There's so much beautiful architecture there that I took some stuff back, because on Empires Season 2, I've been doing this Latin inspired empire. And so I took a lot of inspiration for that. So the next build I'm going to be building is probably the biggest build I've ever done, and it's inspired by this fortress that I went into in Granada in Spain, called the Alhambra, I believe. And it's so cool. It was so cool that I took the most pictures there. So I'm planning something really big coming up in Empires too. So Lots of pre-planning and lots of building this last week. So yeah, it's been fun though.
I love it, man. That's we often get questions about like, what inspires us and like what to do next in Minecraft. And a lot of the times, I'll reference people to websites, art sites, Pinterest, that kind of thing. But um, traveling and like getting inspiration from the real world, if you have the opportunity to travel, is such a great way to get inspired for Minecraft. And it's so cool to hear that you're able to go to like a completely different country, a country that's really rich in architecture and known for a specific kind of architecture. That it's just so nice that people forget that you can you don't have to even travel that far. Like you can walk downtown. Like if you're doing a city build and you live in the city, or if you're doing a small town build or whatever, you want to walk down to your downtown core and just try to figure out how you might replicate some of those things in Minecraft. And there's challenges therein, like if you want to try to make it to scale, if you can, or what is the scale? How does it translate to Minecraft in a good way? So when you're approaching things like that, when you're approaching builds in Minecraft that are based on real world architecture, how do you
Yeah.
balance the scale of Minecraft blocks being 1 by 1 meter
Yeah,
chunks?
it's tough, but first I always go with like a little bit of a wireframe on just the overall shape. I usually go for most of my builds are not like m- traditionally like mega builds. I
Right.
much prefer more like the player scaled.
Me
Like
too.
it feels more natural when you walk in a room. That it's not like a giant 10 tall high door. It's maybe like a 3 wide, and so
Hmm.
it feels real almost. But I do appreciate like the big giant spectacle builds. But I much prefer those little quainter, like put a bunch of builds together to make a town kind of thing instead of like one giant structure. So what I try to do is like first I try to like see the colors. I like to pick out the block palette before I decide on the actual like shapes first, just to see what can I mix together that makes it look as close to the real thing as possible. Um, so I do that first always, and then from there I usually have and I have 3 monitors because I need it, and I still think it's not enough. But on one screen I'll have just like a picture of that actual the screenshot or of the actual building, and then I'll get in my test world, and then I'll probably have another screen just to see like a top down look to what it could be from above while I'm placing down below,
Oh,
and
nice.
then I try to see if I can kind of get as close as possible with the linings of it, but at the end, just shooting up a blank wall and then just carving it out is probably the easiest way to do it. Just usually, especially the buildings that I've been doing recently on empires, I've been trying to replicate certain builds that I've seen like in Colombia, specifically. I think Cartagena is one. This big church that I built, dedicated to the almighty pearlescent moon. She's a saint and a beautiful person. I have a church that's called the Cathedral Santa Pedra. It's an actual building in Colombia that I try to replicate it as close as possible. But it's hard when you wanna get and it's a big church, but you have to make certain sacrifices when you're doing, like, almost like a replica of something, know when to cut back and when to not take it as far into a certain thing if you just wanna get the point across, so it's a hard balance to try to get there, but, just keep chipping away, and the cool thing about Minecraft, you can literally just take it away and put it back up, and don't be afraid to just experiment too with the shapes, because you could do anything you want, but if you want to get it exact, it's going to take you even longer than if you just use it as inspiration, just build and just have fun with it. I think it's more fun that way. That you don't have to get it so perfect that you're going crazy over one block for an hour.
I feel called out. I absolutely I
Yeah.
called myself on this on stream on the weekend because I was building a tower and it's not wasn't big. Like it's, at the base of it might be 5 by 5. Like it's not a huge thing. It's not even that tall. And I was just kind of editing the top of it and trying to get all the blocks the way that I wanted and changing the different block types and I was just like this is silly. This whole thing is 5 by 5. Rather than putting in a few
Yeah.
blocks and trying to imagine what it looks like, white or blue or green or whatever, just build it. Like just make it blue and make it green, and then jump down and go like, oh no, that's ugly, and then just fix it. And it takes less time to do that than it does to sit there and think about like, I wonder if it would look good in this color. And like, no, just do it. Just mess around with it and do it. I think that's really solid advice. The screenshots that you shared in our live chat are fantastic. We'll have them on our website as well for the show notes for this week. But I love the texturing that you do in your pieces. Like there's cobblestone into stone brick into looks like tough and diorite, and then I want to say it's white concrete maybe at the top of that.
Yep. Yeah.
Uh,
White. Yeah.
so
The
so
hardest
good.
part is the white concrete part, just because I didn't have a solid way of getting bone meal, so I had to
Yeah.
destroy a whole crop field and just threw that in a compost, pretty much. But yeah, the gradients are fun. You probably will never find a building of mine without some kind of a gradient because I'm addicted to it at a fault sometimes because some things just don't need it, but I want to do it.
Hmm.
So I'm always putting gradients. I'm always putting like some kind of a different shade to everything, even though it could be something as simple as just just a wall. But specifically, because I do a lot of medieval stuff, and most medieval buildings aren't clean. They're
Yes.
mostly broken up, so
Hmm.
it makes sense. But whenever I try to do something else, I still bring the medieval to it, to the build. But it's fun. Yeah, gradients are great. Yeah, but the white I usually start out with like a rougher shape towards the bottom and then inch my way up to like a cleaner block towards the top. I always keep that as a rule. You
Hmm.
would think like down below is always going to get broken, a little bit messy, and then towards the top it doesn't get as war torn or weathered down as much. So I always keep those cleaner blocks on the top, like going from the diorite to the white concrete. It looks just blends good. It blends really good together, I think.
And it makes sense too, because like you're going to have a roof with an overhang and eaves, and those are going to
Yeah.
protect the blocks at the top from wind and rain and sun and all that kind of stuff that would fade and wear down the material. And something else I noticed about your builds that I see in a lot of the pictures that you shared is that you never do anything in a straight line. Like I think all of your buildings, I'm exaggerating, but a lot of your buildings seem to be
Yeah.
built on angles, especially large ones.
Yeah, I love the angle part, just like to break it up a little bit. Like I like
Hmm.
and I've been breaking away from symmetry a lot lately. So I've usually at just from the beginning to most recently, symmetry is like everywhere for me.
Hmm.
Like I would just build everything is symmetrical. But now I've been like, you know what? Let's change it up a little bit just to make it look a little bit more interesting and just kind of give more angles to the builds, even though it might not be logical to a certain extent because not all buildings have all these angles to it. But in Minecraft, I was used to doing it for a certain way for so long that I was like, let's break it up a little bit just to make the shapes look a little bit more unique than just something that's easily like I've seen that roof style before. I've seen that corner bit. I've seen that tower a bunch of times. What if now let's change it? Throw it at a little bit of an angle to it, or throw some blocks in it that normally wouldn't be on there. But yeah, I think it's just more fun to experiment, especially castles though. Especially from my trip that I went to recently. That there's a lot of shapes in like real world castles that are not just like two boxes going shooting up in the air and just a portcullis and you're done. It's like there's a lot of like shape to like normal like castle that I saw while I was on my trip. So I threw that in there too because of that. Like this was inspired too by the trip, even though there wasn't anything that color palette. It was mostly sandstone style kind of stuff, but yeah, it's definitely inspired by what I saw like out there in the real world.
Well, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that because I assumed that it was inspired from that, just from the architectural shape
Yeah,
and what you've managed to capture. The color is like, well, there could be something that was that color over there, but I know what you mean about the
yeah,
typical kind of like sandy, yellow, sunny,
yeah.
Spanish architecture that you normally see. I guess that comes down to the material that they use. Is it like a stucco or sandstone that
Yeah,
they
I think
that
it's
they
like
use?
it is like a stucco. It's almost like a mud bricks,
Right.
or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like almost
Mm-hmm.
like the mud brick style, but sandstone colored. It's a lot. It's very sandstone colored. And for the most part, for most of the ones that I saw, there was a couple whites out there, but those were more the newer buildings that I saw. The
Mm-hmm.
more antique, very like late 1600 style builds were all yellow. They were all like a yellow style to it. Especially that one place that I went to called the Alhambra. That was all that color, everything. So if pretty much to translate that into like a Minecraft build, it's gonna be just one color, the whole thing. It's a little darker on the edges on the bottom, but going up to it, it was a lot more, um, a lot lighter, but all yellowish.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that you think of when you think of, Spanish architecture. And I guess I would have even noticed it like a quick callback to our render distance. I was talking about Assassin's Creed and the the pirate one,
Yeah,
Black Flag. And there's a lot of Spanish architecture in that because you're sailing around the Caribbean, right? And so you see a lot of stuff from that time, and a lot of the sailors and guards that you're encountering are actually Spanish. And so you see a lot of that architecture around in that world, which I know from watching some behind the scenes. They were obviously very inspired by Cuba and Spain and a bunch of other different architecture styles that made up that point in history. And it's
yeah.
really cool when you can travel and take these beautiful photos and then eventually translate those into Minecraft. And I see what you mean about like the multiple different shapes that you get in one sort of area. Like there's a box here and there's a tower there and there's gabled roofs and then there's different kinds of roofs. And I'm not up to speed on all my architecture terms, but
Yeah,
lots of
so much.
arches too, which
There's
is which
arches
is interesting.
everywhere. And
Yeah.
that's my favorite thing. Like if you see a building of mine, there's arches probably everywhere. I love I love the arches, especially when you're kind of like molding the shape so you get a little bit more depth into it.
Mhm.
Arches on the outside is so good. It helps out so much when you're working with like depth in a building.
Well, I have been busy doing something that you might be able to identify with some of the larger builds that you take part in. I went around on West Hill and did the long anticipated to-do list tour, which is basically me just going saying, okay, what is left to actually work on in West Hill? I grabbed a book and quill and I wrote down everything that was needed and then started to slowly go around and fill in the blanks. And thankfully, even though the book is something like 12 pages long in Minecraft, that's not a lot of text because the book is only small.
Yeah.
And not all of the tasks are big. It's like there are doors missing on this building. Probably zombies broke them down. There are. It's an old tables and chairs data pack that I use for furniture, and like some of those old placements are no longer functioning, so I just have to replace those. So like it's not the end of the world for some of those edits. Then other edits are like, oh, I have to finish the top of the keep or redo the top of the keep because it's been 2 years since I did it and it's no longer living up to the rest of the town in terms of like it doesn't look important enough anymore. So there are things like that that I have to run around and do. But I have to say it feels really good to have a checklist and then to go in and just work on that checklist. So the first thing that I did was finishing up what used to be the leather workshop. I think I talked about this last week. And I just went in and I finished the insides, had a couple of mini blocks I placed down, a couple of armor stands that I trimmed out with leather armor. I don't usually work much with armor stands and armor, and dyeing leather armor was really fun because you have so many more colors than just the 16 colors that you normally have in Minecraft. So being able to
Yeah.
create some colorful combinations, which I mean, spoiler, we're going to talk about that later. In the game was really fun to decorate with. And I really enjoyed this happy little accident of putting a leather armor tunic on an armor stand with the armor stand data pack, and then raising it up and using that as the sign for the leather shop and kind of like embedding it on top of a couple of trapdoors really, really helps break that grid of Minecraft where I've got the image of the leather chest plate is in between two blocks, the two trapdoors on the sign. And I just find it really helps it feel like you've done something special. And it's a build that you see walking in the west gate of the town. So I'm happy that I was able to pull this off and make it look solid. I now have a bunch of other work to do on the houses next door to it because like they don't all have greenery on them. I need to kind of work on a couple of other things, but some of the happy accidents, like you were mentioning earlier, but like just going
Yeah.
for it, I couldn't decide where I wanted to put the chimney. Some of the rules that I have when I build in Westall are I want the chimney placement to make sense. Like if there's the chimney on the outside, I want the stove on the inside to be connected to that chimney, not just randomly placed and have the chimney just be some aesthetic thing. And
That's so hard. That's
it
so hard to
is,
do.
it is really
It's
hard.
so hard. Yeah.
And so originally the side, the empty wall side of the build on the town square was where the chimney was going to go. And then I moved the chimney to match that aesthetic of having it connected to the little stove inside. And that left me this big blank wall. And I was trying to put a garden there and it just didn't look right. And I thought, wait a minute, this thing is going to be facing the town square. I should take advantage of that. And so I made like a little flower stand. And it doesn't make any sense to go with a leather shop, but like who knows? It could just be someone that has a little flower stand and added a nice pop of contrast with the white awning for the stand. And it really came together quickly. Now, the build was already there, the template was already there. I just had to kind of like prettify it. Like I just had to make it look nice. And so it came together nice and fast, which was a fun way to wrap up the final kind of building, the final new building in the town build, because I don't think I'm raising any new structures. It's all kind of set dressing and landscaping and finishing the interiors and things like that. So that's kind of what's left in terms of the world. There's a lot of like texturing roads and finishing paths, and I have to dig out part of a river that doesn't go anywhere and just stuff like that that's left to do. But those final touches are really, really satisfying. And one of the things I did a couple weeks ago was I added a bell tower to the west side of town. And as I was talking about how much I liked it, I just kind of put out the idea, what if I added more of these around West Hill to the primary directions like north, south, east, and west? Obviously, west already finished. And I thought, well, I've got this east gate, and the east gate has a tower. It wouldn't really be that difficult to just chop the roof off of the tower and turn it into a bell tower. So that's what I did over the weekend. And it came out quite well.
That is so cool. I see it. That is a
Thank you.
nice bell tower too. I love the I love that gold block to make it seem a little more scale to the build.
Thanks,
That
man.
looks so cool. I love that. That's awesome.
It was tricky to do. You really want stairs and slabs in gold blocks when you do stuff like this, but
Oh, I wish. Yeah, you can make a really nice one with those.
yeah.
Oh, no, it's so cool. But the detail part, that's the one that takes the most time for me because I
Hmm.
don't know when for that I don't know when to stop. The detail. I can go on. I can make a building and I'm done and I'm fine with it and it's done. But the detailing after actually takes longer for me than the building itself because most of my builds now are almost pre-planned to make it easier. Just when I do the video, it's just I can just get to it faster. But everything outside of the building, it's freehand, and I can't stop sometimes
Yep.
adding all these things just to make it look more alive. Because anyone could just put a building down and you're done, but to add those extra bits to make it feel like a real place. Um, it takes so long, but it's so worth it at the end. Once you take a step back and you see it, and it's so good. Like, even like that, you added that nice little patch of flowers at the end there with the little white overhang.
Hmm.
Like you didn't need to do that. You could have just stopped there and just gone on to another thing. But by adding just that one little thing, it even though it doesn't make sense with a leather worker, but who cares? It just looks cool, and that looks so good. Like that draws your eye just to that spot because it's so bright and so like lively that it literally pulls your eye directly to it. So that's really cool. Uh, and the armor stand trick, putting the leather in the center. I always forget that I have that on Empires. Um, I know it's there, and I only use it to move around this imaginary, not imaginary to the people who love him, but this imaginary armor stand child that I built, that I made with my friend Joel Smallish Beans. We carry him around everywhere. Everyone loves him. His name is Hermes. He has a name and everything. That's the only time I use the armor stand thing. But I keep forgetting that I could do the tripwire hook thing. I could do the get blocks and put them on tables. Every once in a while, I remember, but to add that little bit of detail, putting the actual tunic up on there to signify that's a leather worker, it's really cool. That looks really nice.
Thanks, man. I feel like the thing about just like adding the details, especially in a medieval fantasy town, space is at a premium. You're not going to have the sprawl that we have in modern cities. People
Uh,
are going to, they have to walk everywhere or get a horse. So everything is just going to be like layered on top of one another. And I think that's where the details really help sell the livable space. Like, there isn't any other room for a flower stand in that town square without blocking a road. So you kind of have to attach it to an existing building. And so you just have to find a flat surface to put it on. And stuff like that, I think is what will help any build feel, like you said, part of the world. And that's what I did at the East Gate. So after I finished the bell tower, I was like, oh, okay, it's been a while since I've been over here. This road and this outside tower have not been landscaped at all. There's a weird kind of dip in the landscape that just either wasn't filled in, or I didn't want to fill it in because it would make the wall feel too short. And so I thought, okay, well, if there's a natural dip in the land there, that's probably where water's going to pool. Why don't I put like a pond there, and I can do some custom stuff? And what's nice about all of this is that this East Gate was built probably a year and a half ago. And that means that we didn't have azalea bushes. We didn't have large drip leaf. We couldn't waterlog bushes. I don't even know if waterlogged stairs were a thing. So like all of a sudden I have way more capability in terms of my detail work, in terms of bushes and layering things. And I set out on that stream to finish the bottom of the bell tower, add some greenery, then go inside, finish the inside of the bell tower, the inside of the building next door. How far do you think I got? I spent the entire stream landscaping outside, just
yeah,
details,
yeah, I can
grass
imagine. Yeah.
blocks. Like it's like you said. I mean, I find it cathartic. I find it really relaxing.
Yeah, it's great. That's my favorite part, just to add that little bit. But yeah, just a little pond, just some terraforming. Yeah, that could take a while,
It's
especially if
like an
you
hour and a half.
really want to detail it. Yeah, I can literally go on and on just doing, just fixing a small riverbed, like just adding those slabs, those stairs, the drip leaf, small drip leaf, even like little bamboos, and just cap it off on the top. Throw some sugar cane, bone meal, add some moss, add some bushes. You're there forever. Yeah, I can imagine. I'll do the same thing.
And even just now, like talking with you and looking at the screenshots, like
You want to go in? You want to go back in?
I want to go in, and I'm
Yeah,
realizing,
yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah.
there's a river on the left, and I've put a pond on the right, and I've been wondering what to do with this big empty space on the right-hand side of the gate. I should turn the gate into a bridge and have a little
Yeah, I was
brook
about to tell you
run
that.
underneath
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say that. I was like, that looks perfect for a brook underneath.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can even raise the gate if you want, just to, like, raise the make a drawbridge if you want to. But yeah, you could literally go right under that. Yeah, that would connect perfect to that. Oh, that's a good. Yeah,
it
good
would
idea.
break up the green on the left-hand side. Like I all
Yeah.
kinds of ideas. I'm just like, God, I have got a podcast to record, and I have other
No,
things to do today. I can't just
no.
jump right back into Minecraft.
And that's how a project takes 2 years to even get close to completion.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
how the cookie crumbles, folks. And speaking of the podcast, we should move on into the news, because boy, howdy, do we have a lot to talk about today. It's as
Yep.
if Pix called it last week when he
He
said,
did.
I really
He did.
hope that there's nothing too big that happens while I'm away on vacation. And like the day before he leaves, Mojang is just like, here's all the
Here's a
things.
book.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
here's a book.
Here's a million armor trims you can look through and play in. Yeah, sorry, Pix. They did it on purpose. I think
Yeah.
I blame the developers. They knew.
The evil genius like finger twiddle. There's like,
Yeah.
when is he leaving? When
He's
does he
leaving? Okay.
depart?
No. Yeah, next week we're gonna have rideable sniffers, and we're gonna ride them into the sunset. Sorry, Pix.
So we will kick things off by talking about Minecraft Java Edition Snapshot 23W04A. There's also an accompanying article about armor trims coming to Minecraft 1.20. Armor trims are patterns for player armor that allow players to personalize their armor, add flair, and show off their overworld travels. There are 11 different patterns that can be produced in 10 different colors. To trim armor, players need a smithing template, a new item used on the smithing table. Players can try armor trim in this week's Java Snapshot, and Mojang is working to also include armor trim in the Bedrock beta and preview as soon as possible. The armor trim smithing feature is in the experimental data pack for update 1.20 in this week's snapshot. Changes in 23W04A. The enchantment glint on items and armor is now more subtle. Experimental features include adding new armor trimming system to visually customize player armor, added smithing template items, redesigned the smithing table user interface, and changes to how netherite equipment is crafted. For smithing tables, they have been redesigned into a workstation for physical equipment upgrades and modifications, alongside new slots for combining a piece of equipment, a material, and there is now a required slot for an item type called a smithing template. Smithing templates define what type of upgrade players will be making to the equipment. Smithing templates specify what type of items you can upgrade, as well as which ingredients are valid to customize the upgrade. There are currently 2 categories of smithing templates: armor trim and netherite upgrade. Smithing templates are consumed when used to upgrade an item on the smithing table. You can craft a copy of a smithing template in the crafting table with 7 diamonds, 1 block of the material the template is made of, and that smithing template. The output is 2 of the same smithing templates, so you can essentially duplicate them. For netherite equipment crafting now also requires a netherite upgrade smithing template. Netherite upgrade smithing templates can be found randomly in all Bastion remnant chests, and there is a guarantee of 2 in every treasure room Bastion remnant. This change was made for a variety of reasons: to increase the time players utilize diamond equipment before netherite, to make netherite equipment a more significant achievement in the game's progression, and adapt netherite more naturally into the new smithing table crafting system. On to armor trims. You can now visually customize your armor with a variety of unique trims at the smithing table. All armor is viable for trims except for leather armor. Armor trims are purely visual with no gameplay benefits and can be applied to helmets, chest plates, leggings, and boots. All trim patterns are visually the same on armor in the icon, but the color will change based on the trim material. To check which trim pattern a piece of armor has, you can hover over it in the inventory. Armor trim smithing templates can be found all throughout the world, and each of the following structures contain their own unique smithing template. The Pillager Outpost has the Sentry armor trim, Desert Pyramid, the Dune armor trim, Shipwreck, Coast armor trim, Jungle Temple, Wild armor trim, Ocean Monument, Tide armor trim, Ancient City, Ward armor trim, Woodland Mansion, Vex armor trim, Bastion Remnant, Snout armor trim, Stronghold, the Eye armor trim, and End City, the Spire armor trim. Worth noting that the Ocean Monument does not yet have a chest for the trim to drop in. The Tide armor trim is dropped by Elder Guardians. The viable ingredients players can use to define the color of the armors are iron, copper, gold, lapis, emerald, diamond, netherite, redstone, amethyst, and quartz. Armor cannot have the same material as it is made applied to as a trim. So for example, a golden chest plate cannot have golden trim applied because you just wouldn't see it. Technical changes in 2304A added a new type of Atlas configuration source called paletted permutations. Armor stands now preserve custom names when placed and broken. A new registry trim pattern has been added to the armor trim system. A new recipe serializer smithing transform has been added for the upgrade netherite items recipe. A new recipe serializer smithing trim has been added for the new armor trim recipe, and smithing table has temporarily 2 menu types. The old menu smithing table slot has been renamed to legacy smithing. This menu will be removed when armor trim features are no longer experimental. New menu with the smithing table slot was added called smithing. Palette permutations. Palette permutation is a new type of Atlas configuration source used to dynamically generate new textures in memory based on a set of color palettes. Color palettes allow you to swap out the colors of a texture without having to supply all the files for the variants of a texture resource pack. This is useful for things like armor trims, where you want to be able to change the color of parts of the armor without having to create a new texture for each color. Trims, patterns, and materials. Trim patterns and materials for armor are defined by the server through the trim pattern and trim material registry respectively. As a result, new trim patterns and materials can be added via data packs. For a full detailed explanation on the technical implementation of palette permutations, trim patterns, and trim materials, visit the Minecraft.net article that we will have linked in today's show notes. Minecraft Preview 1.19.70.20 was released on January 26th. As mentioned earlier, armor trims are currently only available in the Java Edition Snapshot, but Mojang is working to add them to Bedrock Beta as soon as they can. Experimental features in the Bedrock Beta include that piglin head blocks rendered in the hotbar or inventory no longer have an ear overlapping the rest of the head. Players can now receive damage when falling while riding a camel. A summary of features, bug fixes, parity, and gameplay changes. Players' hitbox height now reduced to 1.5 blocks while sneaking. There are some known issues with the camera when sneaking under blocks, as well as block interaction and jumping not working when sneaking in a gap. Under vanilla parity, breeding horses can now produce random variants. Note block sound attenuation over a distance is now linear. Double-clicking on a furnace output slot will no longer drop the item, and they fixed a bug where observers would not detect changes to corrupt data. There are additional changes to graphics, mobs, touch controls, and UI. For the full detail list of the Bedrock Beta changes and preview, visit minecraft.net with the article that we have linked in our show notes. Last but not least, Minecraft Legends has an official release date, and first found out about it during the Xbox Developer Direct, which was a video live on YouTube published January 25th, 2023, showcasing Microsoft, Xbox, Bethesda, and more. The presentation led with a featurette on Minecraft Legends. We will have a link to that as well as the bookmark timecode in the show notes. Featurette focused on gameplay features like siege towers and base building, multiplayer aspects of the game, various strategies. The release date and platforms is Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. Standard edition base game will cost $39.99 USD. The deluxe edition will cost $49.99 USD, which is the base game plus the deluxe skin pack for a discounted price. Platforms include Xbox, PC, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, Steam. PC and Xbox will also have Game Pass and Xbox Cloud Gaming. We'll have a link to the new Minecraft Legends gameplay trailer, which was released shortly after the Xbox Developer Direct. Most of the in-game footage from the Developer Direct was taken from the trailer, but also there is some developer commentary in there as well. So that's the news this week. We were not kidding when we said that Mojang had been busy. We're going to save the armor trim for our main discussion because I'm sure both Mythical Sausage and I will have a lot to say about it. To kick things off with a quick snapshot chat, though, the enchantment glint getting reduced in intensity in default resource pack is a good move as far as I'm concerned, both aesthetically and I think for anybody that has trouble seeing colors and stuff like that, any kind of color blindness or color vision challenges, I think that's probably going to be helpful. What do you think about that change?
Oh, I'm so happy. I've always thought it was too much. Like it's really shiny, and it just takes away from your armor. Like I love seeing how the Netherite armor looks, but I never get to see it anymore because it's enchanted. So you don't get that look to it. So having it a lot less, it's cool. I like it. On Empires, we have a texture pack that Flip created that reduces the glint so much, so it's barely noticeable when you have it on. So that it's just to have it as a default now to be a lot less noticeable is a lot better, I think, for everybody involved. It's like I like seeing my armor. I like seeing it, and that glint was way too powerful.
So we have the enchantment glint completely turned off on the Citadel with my texture pack, and I did it primarily for the same reason. I found it really loud and didn't like seeing the distraction on my tools when I was holding them in my hand. But then I also discovered that when you remove the enchantment glint, you can now see the colors of all the potions very clearly, and
That's true.
tell a
Yeah.
difference between like a strength potion and a healing potion. You can see the difference between a speed potion and a breathing potion because they're different color blue. But with the enchantment glint back with the old default glint, it's just all purple shiny. Like you can't really tell what's going on. And so I've always, said that that's one of the benefits of removing the glint. Now, we are not a big PvP server. We don't do it at all. So I can understand how
It makes
removing the
sense.
enchantment
Yeah.
glint would hinder kind of PvP, because if you're doing PvP, you kind of want to know who has enchanted gear and all that kind of stuff. So I get that. But yeah, I think it's a good move. And I'm surprised that there isn't more, I guess, accessibility control for that kind of stuff, because they've done a lot of accessibility control for like the camera wobble, any kind of
Yeah.
like nausea effects, that kind of thing, screen flashing. So maybe the enchantment glint might see some intensity
That'd be
dials.
kind of cool. Or like a slider or something like that
Yeah.
would be easy to put. Like if you want the glint, if you loved it, if you're used to it, you hate change, keep it. But if you want to be like everyone else, just lower the slider maybe. It's almost off if you wanted it. Especially if you're in, but then it'll be a little weird if you're in a server and you can control it, and then you
Mm,
do PvP at that point, and then you kind of don't know. So it's kind of hard, I guess, if it's in a server wide kind of thing. But either way, if you want it off, you can literally just have a data pack or a texture pack that just takes it off if you like
yeah,
that, anyways.
exactly. I think that, I mean, obviously the push behind this is the fact that they just added a lot of decoration to armor, and they
You want to
probably
see it.
immediately realized that you can't see all
Yeah,
this work that we're doing if we don't reduce the enchantment glint. So I would imagine that the two decisions went hand
they're
in
hand in
hand.
hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'd like to talk about Minecraft Legends because I was not
Yes.
anticipating a release date and or so much behind the scene footage when I watched that Xbox Developer Direct. I watched it because I'm an Xbox, owner and player, and I wanted to know what's coming. And to kick off the
Yeah.
presentation with Minecraft Legends, like they're putting a lot of oomph behind it, and they showed a lot of gameplay. And while it wasn't entirely new in terms of like the kinds of things that we were seeing. It was certainly a lot of new footage of different people, different players. A lot of what I felt was developers playing the game with one another and then capturing some of that gameplay. And so the thing that spoke to me immediately was the multiplayer co-op. So not just as a you get together with your friends and you go fight one another in Legends, but you could team up against the piglins, because even if it's a team of you and your buddy versus a couple of other friends, you're still going to have to deal with the piglins who are out to get all of you. And I thought that was really interesting that you don't have to play versus, like you can get in there and just kind of like grab some roles. And one of the things that they highlighted in the video was like, if you're a natural builder and you're not good at, or you're brand new to these kind of strategy battle games, then you can do that. Like you can be like, okay, I could say, Mythical, you're in charge of building the base, make it really defensible, make it really good. I'm gonna go wander around and collect materials and maybe befriend some mobs so that we can use them to fight later. But that way you can kind of divide and conquer the tasks so that when the bad guys do arrive, you're ready. And I thought that was really cool, because if you're not that good at fighting in these games, but you are really good at building, then you could use that to your advantage depending on who you're teaming up with. And I thought that was a really cool angle.
I love that part the most. Like at first I was a little iffy about like how would you like determine what role you would do, because there's so much you could do in the game, like explore. You can go and do the PvP and siege down there. You can come back, collect materials. You can build the base. But if you're in a group and you can delegate different tasks to people, and then you're in charge of just building, or you're in charge of just resource gathering, or you're in charge of just PvP, that's really cool. That it's like almost like you have like a specific assigned role, even though it's not assigned. Like some games, they'll assign you a specific role, and you must be that role forever in
Right.
that game. That's kind of limiting to me, because I get bored being the same thing over and over again. But in this situation, you could just switch whenever. Like if you get bored of building, you just do resource gathering. If you get bored of that, if you want to just fight, you go fight. But you can change on the fly. You can change per round. You can have a good team and just have fun. It really, I didn't think about that part as much as like almost like a single player mindset of how are you gonna play this? It's a lot to do. But if you're with a group of friends, it seems like a fun time, especially if you just want to do one thing or you want to do everything. But you could do, it's almost like very Minecrafty in that way. Like this game, especially you're not playing Minecraft, but most people that are Minecraft lovers, they're going to be playing or trying to play or attempting this kind of game, and they're gonna like the freedom of it, I think, the most. I think that's the best part.
And you can have more than just those two roles. Like you can team up with
Yeah.
up to four friends, which means that like,
Or
one of you
yeah.
could be on reconnaissance, like go scout out the bad guys and see where they are, see how many bad guys they have. There's more information coming. We'll have a linked article in the show notes this week that has blurbs here and there about like, stay tuned over the coming weeks. We'll be explaining the different kinds of piglins that you'll be fighting and different kind of strategies. And I thought that was really cool that they talked about how each developer that's making the game, that's been testing and playing it, had something fun to say about like, I'm really into these games, or I'm playing it in a certain style. They were definitely aiming a lot of the comments at younger players in terms of like, you can be kooky with this. Like you can just, build one thing, or if you want to grab creepers, or if you want to grab I think it was wooden golems was the name of them. They look like they shoot arrows. They look like Cubert. They look like little wooden Cubert
Yeah,
characters.
little barrels that
Yeah,
shoot.
shoot
Yeah, yeah.
arrows. The only, and that kind of brought up my only concern, with the developer talk, was that they talked about one developer just made a whole horde of these
Yeah.
wooden golems and then came in and just like ransacked the area, and they won the match. And I thought, okay, well, it's cool that players can have the freedom to do that, but it shouldn't work, at least not all the time, because those are the kind of strategies that are not fun to play against. And you have fun because you win, but it's not really a strategy. You're just numbers. Like you're just massing numbers and going in and overwhelming the opponent. And it reminds me of what's called Zerg rushing in StarCraft 2. For anybody that
Yeah.
knows the game, basically you just build a lot of these very small, very cheap, squishy units, and you overwhelm the opponent very early in the game. And so, depending on what race your opponent was playing in StarCraft, they might be just getting going. They're trying to build up their base. They're trying to work out what their strategy is going to be, and then they get overrun by bugs and they die. And it's not fun.
That's not
And
fun. No.
no, and so I'm hoping that they have
At least
a
a counter
a
to it.
balance, something to account for that. Now they did mention that the wooden golems are very squishy, like you can destroy them quite easily. So hopefully they have something that will deal with that. And one thing that they did show off in this trailer footage, as well as the developer featurette, was siege towers. I don't think we've seen these before,
No, I don't remember them at
and
all.
they're
Not until they showed it.
massive,
They're huge. Yeah, they're
huge.
really big.
And one was anti-air, and they said
Yeah.
another one was like anti-ground. And like, if you thought the big stone golems that were like catapults were big, these towers are absolutely massive. And I can see them being a real focal point when you're trying to take an opponent's base. Like, you really want to get rid of those towers before you move in your troops. And so there's going to be some ranged tactics I think are going to be very interesting in the game. So I'm looking forward to getting some hands on with it and seeing a little bit more about it. And I am excited that it is going to be included in Game Pass. I think it's
Game Pass,
fantastic.
yes. I can. Yeah, when they said that, I was like, oh yeah. Well, now I'm getting it for sure. Like, there's no point in that. It's part of the Game Pass deal. That's the coolest part about it. Like, I was a little hesitant at first. I was like, I might check it out. I might see someone else play it, and maybe I'll pick it up if my friends are picking it up. I'll play it. But it's on Game Pass. I'm getting it no matter what. So I'm just gonna test it out no matter what happens. But yeah, that's really cool. That's really good.
And I have Game Pass Ultimate, which means that I'll have
Yeah,
access on both Series X and on PC
and on
for
PC.
streaming and stuff
Yeah,
like that. And I
same.
would imagine I'll probably
Yeah.
play on PC. It's probably more of a PC game for me, because I'm used to those kind of games on PC.
Yeah,
So
me
I'm
too.
looking
That's
forward to
that's a
that.
PC type of game. It's like it's not enough buttons in a controller for this. I don't think.
I feel the same way. I'm a hotkey guy, so like I kind
Yeah.
of want that in there. Now, they did mention the two different versions, and Minecraft Dungeons had a deluxe version when it first launched. But the difference there was that the Minecraft Dungeons Deluxe Edition had additional DLC with it. So you would get the DLC in one bundle, or you could buy the DLC later, piece by piece, if you wanted to. This has the deluxe edition skin pack, which is included at a discount with the deluxe edition. This is, they didn't really say, but I'm assuming that it doesn't give you any kind of player benefit, because that would be kind of play to, or pay to win
Pay
rather.
to win. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
this skin pack costs $14.99 USD.
Oh, okay. No, I'm good.
Woof.
Thanks. Yeah.
No, thank you. I
No.
this is the one red flag in Minecraft Legends for me, where I'm just like, okay, that's a hard no. And it even, I'm gonna go and say it. It smacks of greed. Like, it's $14.99 for a skin in a game that we don't even know is going to stick around. Uh, when you look back at the Minecraft Dungeons DLC, which were around $5, maybe 10 USD,
Yeah. But you were getting maps, right? We're getting full on maps.
gameplay.
Yeah.
It was game content
That's
for
worth it.
10 bucks,
Really.
exactly, and
Yeah.
that was worth it. And that's my parallel. I want to point out is that was worth it. It was DLC. It was extra content. This, I mean, there's no extra content for Legends because all the maps
You
are
can't.
generated randomly.
It's
Like, you can't
yeah,
have it,
procedurally
right?
generated. There's no way to
Yeah.
build a map for it unless you get access to the Nether, maybe, or access to
Mm,
the end,
I don't
maybe.
know
That's the only way you can maybe do it. But since it is procedurally generated, there's no way to make a map for it.
exactly.
And next thing you know, they're paying for different types of towers with different
Mm,
attributes. Then maybe that would be pay to win also because
exactly.
yeah, there's no way to make that any kind of pack that's not skin packs for this. If you think about it, like what are you, if it's not a skin, what do you, and you can't make a map, there's nothing really that you can make for them. Like what can you, like, there's besides a skin, everything else would be a pay to win kind of thing, or maybe just you're skinning then like blocks to make prettier fortresses then at that point. But I don't see it. I don't see a way to balance that.
I mean, I can see things like, banners over your base, like if you wanted to have a personalized banner or,
Yeah,
and that's the kind of thing where I could even see achievements in game. Like if you win the single player campaign, then you get the special I beat Minecraft Legends banner. And then when you go into a PvP match, if you raise that banner over your base, it does nothing other than signify you're a good
you
player, you've
beat the
beat the
game.
game.
Yeah,
And I think that the aesthetics is certainly a way to monetize the game. I just think the price point is terrible. And they have a picture of the legendary or the deluxe skin rather in the article. We'll have linked in the show notes, and like it's all right, like but
yeah,
it's nothing special. And I think the other thing too is that announcing skin packs before the game is even available, when no one has any emotional attachment to the game, I think
yeah,
it just lands flat, right? It's like I don't even know if this is good. Why would I spend an extra $10 for a skin when I might play this for a month? And I think
yeah,
to our comment earlier, it's less money if you're only buying the skin, right? Because then
yeah,
if you've got Xbox Game Pass and you're already paying for access, then you're not actually buying the game. You'd just be dropping the $14.99 for the skin. So like I guess, but people have to remember, like with Game Pass, you are paying for the game. Like you are paying a
yeah.
subscription, just like Netflix, to have access to it. So yeah, that's the one thing where I'm just like, ooh, hard breaks on that. That's a no from me. To each their own, because I think that expressing yourself in any Minecraft game is important. But like I won't be buying the skin. I can tell you that much.
At the start, because especially since and for the most part, for the most people that I know, we all play dungeons, but is anybody playing dungeons anymore? Honestly, like what's the percentage? Like I play dungeons maybe the first month and I stopped. And I play some of the DLC, but then like I love Minecraft so much that I'm gonna be playing Minecraft. But I will be taking a lot of inspiration off of it because there's some really cool stuff there. But I wouldn't buy a skin pack off the bat. If anything, if I really love the game, I know I'm gonna be playing it for a long time. I might consider it later down the line. And if other stuff come out, I'll consider it too. But I might give it a month, and if I'm still playing it and past the dungeon phase, how I had, maybe. But up front, nah, I don't think that's a thing I'm gonna be doing.
I'm with you there on that. I've not picked up dungeons in a long time. I popped in for some of the events and some of the updates. I never did beat the base game, so I never did move on to any of the DLC, despite the
Yeah,
fact that I own them. Because again, it was an easy purchase for some of the later ones because Minecraft Dungeons came out before it was accessible via Game Pass. So I actually had to buy
yeah,
Dungeons.
I bought it too. Yeah,
And
yeah,
then when it came out via Game Pass, I had to buy, if I wanted to progress and play on the Xbox, I had to buy the DLC again to attach it to the Xbox. So it wasn't the best. There is a way to transfer your character. So I did move my character
yeah.
from my PC version over to the Xbox, which is great. And I liked that. I thought that was smart. A little tricky, but I mean, nothing a YouTube tutorial couldn't teach you how to do.
Yeah,
It's just a matter of what menu and like what to click and how to like what means what really. But the I'm with you in that I haven't been back to Dungeons, and it's not that it's a bad game, but
oh, it's great.
I wonder how much, to your point, playing Dungeons then inspires ideas, and then people leave Dungeons to go back to Minecraft to build something cool.
Yeah, that's what I did. I literally did that. I got so much inspiration off of these like little actual dungeon maps, and I try to make my own versions of it. And it's gonna work the same for this. I actually took some inspiration from the trailer from the Xbox Direct for some of the trees. There's
Yes.
some really cool
Mm-hmm.
trees
I noticed
on
that
there,
too.
especially the jungle ones, the ones that are like spread out with the branchy leaves. Like you can definitely remake those with like just spruce fences and gates. And I have screenshots. Yeah, I'm taking that with me.
Taking
I'm gonna
notes.
play that game literally for inspiration. That's what I do. I'm gonna take it for inspiration. I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna have some fun with it, but I'm literally taking it for inspiration and then go back to Minecraft and build stuff that I saw there. And then be sad that the animations don't exist in our real game. That's gonna be the
Yes.
part that's gonna hurt me the most, the animations. Oh, it's so bad. I love them so much. I just wish we get more animations. I made a tweet the other day. I think Fwip tweeted out that he would love the because he loved the animation of the sniffer and he wished more of the older animals get a redo with animation. I was like, yeah, that'll be awesome, but I just want to animate me, my character maybe too, and just actually see me run, have actual knees, take damage and hurt, I'm hungry, so I'm holding my belly a little bit. Something simple. When you swim, you actually um, hear bubbles or something. And little things little things like that, just to make it more alive. And you see it in these new games. It's like, oh, can we have that too? And then you get sad, but then you just go back and you ignore it. But yeah, I wish we can get more animations like we do in these games.
There's an animation pack that I think Hermitcraft has, but
Oh
it's
yeah, fresh animations.
it's dependent on Optifine, and
Yeah,
I use
same.
sodium, so
Yeah, we
I
don't.
don't have access to it.
Yeah, when the Hermits came onto Empires, I was like, "Oh, I want my fresh animations." Like, "Oh, sorry, we don't use Optifine here." And like, "Oh no," they are so sad. They were so
Yeah.
sad. We tried, but now it wouldn't fit with our sodium stuff. But yeah, fresh animations is pretty good. Yeah, that's a good pack.
So this is normally where we would read some email. We do have one, but it's focused on armor trims, so we are going to fold that into the main discussion. If you would like to email the show and share your thoughts about armor trim or Minecraft Legends or anything that we've talked about, you can send that to spawnchunkmail@gmail.com, and make sure to indicate in the subject line what your email is about and keep them short and punchy. It's the best way to get them on the show. Armor trim aesthetic upgrades coming to Minecraft. So I thought the easiest way to kind of pitch this discussion would be just to ask a bunch of questions. How do we feel about the addition and implementation of armor trims? Are there quote unquote too many options regarding the patterns and material combos? Does including every color combination help Minecraft gameplay? Does the challenge to find and the loot table percentage chance feel right for every template? So I'll have a couple of videos that I thought were really helpful. One from Exumavoid and one from Il Mango that I watched over the weekend that I thought were informative and fun and had some great thoughts about the armor trim. We'll have those in the show notes. I think the pressing question, of course, is like, do we each have a favorite trim? So, Mythical, I'll kick it to you. Like, with what you've seen so far, are any of the armor trims standing out to you?
Well, anything netherite is completely overpowered by everything else. Just having netherite with any trim looks good. Like there's not one bad trim with netherite. The other ones, there's a lot of iffy ones. Like I wouldn't combine certain colors together, but the netherites are all of them look great. But the one that stands out to me the most are the hardest ones to get, which is of course they did this to me. The ancient city one, the ward one, I love it. I'm gonna have to fight a warden in hardcore to find that. So thank you.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so that's is it worth it at the end? No, but am I gonna do it? Probably, and I'm gonna lose my world. Yes, but I'm gonna try to get it. But that one is amazing. I love that one. I kind of like the Vex one, the Woodland Mansion one. Somebody did a tweet I saw a while ago that they look like Power Ranger outfits, and I can't unsee that. They look like if you have a group of friends and they're all wearing different colors of the same Vex one, it kind of looks like you're in a Power Ranger cartoon or something. It looks really cool. And I love the Stronghold one with the eye. It kind of reminds me of Tony Stark's little arc reactor thing. So comic book nerd
Oh, I
coming
never
out
thought
just
about
in
that. That's
looking at
cool.
that.
Yeah.
It looks like a little arc reactor. And then I do like the End City ones. It's kind of simple, like a little simplistic version of it, but I really like the shapes of those. Those are my top. Like which ones are calling out to you the most?
So I found that I was drawn to different pieces. And what's cool about this is that you don't have to stick with the same trim. Like
Yeah.
once you have enough templates that you've collected, you can apply a certain template to your chest plate. You can apply a certain template to your leggings. So for chest plates, I liked the wild template and the coast template. Those I believe
Oh
are
yeah.
jungle and shipwreck. And then the snout template and spire template for leggings, coast template again, and dune template for boots, and the tide template and coast template again for helmets. And so I'm probably going to mix and match and kind of figure out which ones I like the most. I like anything that had like a V, and like
Yeah.
you said, the
These are cool.
netherite combo of having like either redstone and netherite or
Yeah.
copper and netherite or quartz and netherite, any kind of high contrast with a light color on netherite looks really sharp.
Yeah, I love the red, with the netherite looks so good. It
Yeah.
kind of looks like like an evil knight or something. It looks really cool. It looks crazy. But the anything with netherite, it really looks so good. Everything with diamond looks horrible for me. I don't like anything with the diamond. It's just so bright with the other ones. Maybe if I want to, if I'm very rich, I'll throw netherite with diamond. As a trim, the black of the netherite kind of looks really cool with the diamond, but the diamond just so bright for me. I love the gold, but who really is gonna wear gold though? Except for when you're going into the nether, really.
Yeah.
But like once you're in netherite, you're never gonna touch the other ones like on a day-to-day basis. So once you get to netherite, you're pretty much done. Unless you're gonna be a collector, like I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna literally make a giant armory and make every single one if I can find it. I'm gonna that's my goal. Once this comes out, I'm gonna no life it. I'm gonna look for every single one and make myself a huge giant like blacksmith armory to display everything. That's gonna be my thing.
Someone in our Discord, I'll have to look up the link, posted a stream where someone had, or a video where someone had like done a time run to see how long it would take to get all the different templates. And it was like
Oh
six, it
no.
was like 6+ hours. And that's all they were
Oof.
doing. Like they were focused on just that. And I think between the 10 different colors and the 11 different trim templates, you're looking at something like 615 different combinations. It's over 600. I know Exumavoid mentioned it in his
Yeah.
video. And for me, like I'm with you in that stuff on Diamond doesn't look very good to me. Now, I
Yeah.
have got a custom texture pack on the Citadel which changes Diamond to be more of a like a white shiny rather than such a blue traditional Minecraft color of
Yeah, that would
Diamond
be better.
armor. So it'll help, but I still feel like the bright shiny armor with like the red redstone trim, even iron armor with redstone trim looks a little funny. You kind of look like
Yeah.
you look like an ambulance worker, like you look like,
Yeah,
or
yeah, it looks
a
really odd.
nurse from the 40s. Like it's very red
Yeah.
and white, you know, like it has a
Yeah.
very strange color combo. And so the darker the armor, i.e., netherite, I feel like the
Yeah.
better your luck is going to be. Um, I like things like the quartz and the redstone. Redstone looks it's loud, but it looks pretty good on the gold armor.
On the gold, yeah, I can see the gold. The gold looks pretty good with most of them. Like I'm even though I wouldn't probably use them, but to have it around and display it looks nice.
One of the things that's really cool is being able to tell if you are rich enough that you have these things and you can afford to put multiple trims on different armor. Say you've got different kinds of armor, like say you've got an aqua affinity helmet, and then you've also, or you've got like soul speed boots, and then you've got not what's the one for walking in water, is that aqua affinity?
Um,
No.
Frostwalker?
Well, Frostwalker would be another good example. But like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff, like if you want different enchantments on different boots, you could have the Frostwalker boots maybe diamond trimmed so that they're blue, and then you can have your nether boots are going to have orange or something on them so that you know which boot to take where. Depth Strider, thank you, chat. That's the one that
Oh, that's the
I've
one.
been playing with for 5 years in Minecraft, and I couldn't remember
Yeah.
live on a show. Like so that's the kind of thing. And I do find that some of the names and some of the there was one thing, it was like the Netherite smithing table upgrade template or something. Like I don't think it's the longest name in Minecraft, but it's close.
It's close. It's up there.
They're
Yeah.
getting
It's,
convoluted with
it's
the
unforgettable.
yeah, with the names of these. And so that's I think before we, get into some of the other things about the trim, Netherite and how Netherite is made is part of this upgrade change. And now Netherite is more expensive. You have to craft a Netherite smithing template, which costs you 7 diamonds to make each and
That's
every
a
time you
lot.
want to upgrade an item. So that includes your pickaxe and other things, as well as armor items as well. So you're looking at 7 diamonds for every piece that you upgrade, and and you have to go to a Bastion Remnant to find the Netherite upgrade piece. Now those are more common than the trim templates. The trim templates have lower probabilities, and I'll get into that in a second. But the Netherite upgrade has, I think there's guaranteed of like one in every Bastion Remnant or two in every Treasure Bastion
I
Remnant,
think
something
two in
like that.
every treasure, but yeah, and on top of that, you have to deal with the brutes to get through
Right.
that to even get that. So it's even
Yes.
harder to even get that. Yeah, I don't like the 7 diamond. That's expensive, especially since well, I guess when you're end game, diamonds are worthless at that point because you
Yeah.
have all your tools, you have all your armor. You're never gonna use it unless you're in a server and you use diamonds for like the economy. Like you're never gonna really look for diamonds anymore. So I guess this gives you more reason to go find more diamonds, but it's just if you just want a template and you have to spend that many diamonds just for one template just to look good, I guess it's almost like the DLC for Legends. You're paying you're paying a lot just to
Yeah,
get a little aesthetic look to it. I guess, but I prefer if it was just emeralds. Just get it from trading with a villager and just make as many templates as you want because
right.
you're just doing it for aesthetics. Like why you have to spend so much time breaking all this deep slate for hours to get one little vein of two, and then I have to keep going because I just want to look pretty in a game that doesn't matter and it doesn't affect gameplay. I think it should. I don't know. I think it just should be easier, more accessible, just with emeralds than seven whole diamonds. I don't know.
And we're on a late game server, over on the Citadel, and diamonds really don't have any value because we don't have an economy. Like we help one another out with different blocks, and we'll trade blocks. Like I'll trade a shulker box of this for a shulker box of that with somebody that has access. Or I'll get like bee and honey related blocks from Alistair with the promise to help him do something down the line. You like that kind of a thing. And so we don't really use diamonds as currency. And so, I've got all the diamonds to do this, but I'm also thinking like, well, if I know this is coming, I should just go get all my netherite armor now,
Yep, yep, yeah.
and
That's
get
what
it
people are
get it
doing.
taken
Yep.
care of, right? Because
Yep.
I have some. I've got netherite boots and I've got a netherite pickaxe, but that's it. And so I really might, light the fire under myself to go get that kind of stuff taken care of before 1.20 drops. Um, so speaking of the rarity and how difficult these things are to find, netherite, as far as the armor trim goes, is in the bastions. There's a 3.2% chance of dropping. Spire in the end city is 4.8. Eye in the stronghold is 9.1. Snout in the bastion is 4.8. Rib in the nether fortress is 4.8. Vex in woodland mansions is also 4.8. Ward in ancient cities is 4.8. Tide ocean monument is 20%. Wild jungle temple 20%. Coast in the shipwreck is 11.1%. Dune in the pyramid is 11.1%. And Sentry in the Pillager Outpost is 20%. I got all these numbers from watching the El Mango video that we'll have linked in the show notes. And something that they were quick to point out is that while the drop rates is lower in some cases, like, for example, the Nether Fortress, there are a lot of chests in the Nether Fortress. So it's
Yeah.
not 4.8 in the Nether Fortress, it's 4.8% in each chest in the Nether Fortress. So there's a higher probability of finding one. And that's why when you've got something like a shipwreck that only has the one chest in it, maybe two, you've got 11%. It's higher. Same with the jungle temple. There's only like two chests or one chest in the jungle temple. So you're going to find those a little bit more. I'm happy that the ones that I like the most are also in the 10 to 20% range.
Huh. Look at mine though. I'm gonna cry.
Yeah,
My
exactly.
favorites are the hardest ones. Come on.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that? Because like
Uh,
the ward is a hard one to get because you have to deal with the warden. But I haven't been to enough ancient cities. Like how many chests are in an ancient city? It's quite a few,
there's a
right?
good amount. Yeah, there's a good amount. That I guess I understand the percentage based on how many chests are there because there's a lot of chests, but it should be a little higher because you have to fight off a warden.
Mm-hmm.
I say give it 20. Give me the same as the wild and the tide one, please. Because I'm risking my life, my hardcore world in there, and
Yep.
I deserve this to look pretty, please. Get that up there.
There's lots of chests in an end city,
The
but
end
like you
cities,
have,
yeah,
but
that one, yeah.
it's behind a dragon though. Like you
You
have to
have to
beat the dragon.
kill the boss,
Yeah,
yeah.
like you have to beat the game before you get that one. So I
And at the
guess
same time, you're not going to have an elytra at the beginning, so you have to
nope.
literally pillar over endless void for who knows how long to find it, and then you get it and you find it. And imagine your first city and you don't get it, and that's really all you really want once you get there. Is like it's 4.8. I don't know. There's going to be data packs, right? Like
There's going to
double
be
double
data
shulker
packs,
shells. Yeah,
higher probability.
let's data pack all of these, please. But yeah, it's just yeah, it's sad that the ones I like the most are the hardest ones to get. The one that kind of it's I see the 20% on the tide for Ocean Monument because there's no chest there. So you literally have to kill one of the three Elder Guardians. But
Mm-hmm.
imagine you're also going there, you kill all three and you don't get anything yet. And then
Oh
the
yeah.
next Ocean Monument is, I don't know, like 10,000 blocks away, or something like that. Like that would be kind of disappointing. But yeah, I can't see them adding chests to that one. So I guess it makes sense. But I wish we were a little higher. But at the same time, it'll get you to explore more. I guess that's the whole goal. Get you out there and looking for more things to do.
My least favorite of all of these is probably the Vex one, which is fine because I think that's the one
Oh
that's probably
yeah.
the most imbalanced. Like Woodland Mansions, I think we might have two that I know of on the entire world of the Citadel, and there's
Oh
only a
no. Yeah, they're
4.8
really
chance,
hard.
and those have been loaded. So for
Oh,
my
that's true.
forever
Yeah.
world, right, like you're going to have to go find new woodland mansions and new ocean. I don't know about new ocean monuments because of the way that they drop from the Elder Guardians right now. But yeah,
Yeah.
well, it will have to see how this all falls out for people that are in a long-term world. Now, thankfully, things like, we reset the end from time to time to, have closer elytra and closer end cities and shulker boxes and things like that. But yeah, there's a lot to be said about the rarity of this. Now, I guess worth pointing out, multiplayer servers, you don't have to go get all of these yourself. Once someone on the server has one, you can
Yeah, you can
duplicate
copy
it,
it.
you can copy it. And I'm glad that they did that.
As long as they don't use it. Imagine if they use it though, because once you
Oh,
use it, it disappears. So you gotta let people know up front, because a lot of people might forget that once you use it once, that thing is gone. So
yeah.
if you like get excited, you want to use it, like, oh, I got my first template from the spire at the end city, and then, oh, let me see what it looks like, and then you use it and it's gone. You have to go look for another one. You have to
Yeah.
make sure you remember to actually make the templates for them and the backups for that backup, and then put it store it in a chest somewhere
Man,
because once you use it, it's gone. Yeah.
your only tip to that is probably going to be you've now just picked up a smithing like trim template. You've unlocked new crafting recipes in your book, and that's going to be the tool tip to go look to
Yeah.
see what the recipes are for that, because the game doesn't do a great job of telling you that this thing is consumable when you create a recipe from it. You don't necessarily know that it's going to be used up. You
Yep.
might assume that, but it's difficult to say. I mean, I love the fact that they've added more functionality to the smithing table. I do think that the netherite, like the distance from the netherite, down the game progression is a good thing. I'm with you on the
Yeah,
fact that it's a little expensive,
it is a little bit, but it's, I guess, just make it a little harder for people. You're gonna get it anyways. It's gonna be fine.
but the aesthetics of all of this, and to quote Il Mango, something that I thought was really funny that they said was they're no longer going to look like the clone army on an end game server where everybody's very technically
Yeah.
savvy. Everybody is playing with, they're doing hard things in the game. So they want really good armor that's not going to expire in lava. Everybody is in netherite gear. And so everybody looks the same. Now, you folks on Empires have a cool thing where I think armor is invisible.
At the beginning, we had well, just Flip's default texture pack that just has the reduced armor claim that you can wear armor, and it looks fine. But we wanted to show off our skins because we have
Mm-hmm.
really cool artists that make really cool skin, and it matches our empire and our lore and everything like that. So we do have it completely invisible, but what we don't have invisible is when we make custom armor. Like we have some sets, some of the members have made custom armor, and it's just like an extravagant version of what we see now in default, but it matches like their style of their empire. But those are completely custom made, and it makes it you look very unique, especially like with our armor, not armor, our tools too. Like all my tools are completely fresh and different, and match like the style of my empire. So we have that to make it more unique than just your typical vanilla stuff. So the only time I see vanilla stuff is if I'm in my hardcore world, but on Empires, everything is custom. So it really makes it cool. And each person's like individually looks awesome that you don't really want to see. But now this is pretty cool because now people can do kind of what we're doing, just have your own style to how you look. The only thing is that you have it's not going to be in like your typical servers like Hypixel or Mineplex or wherever. You're not going to see people looking like this because it's not survival. But if you're in a group of friends in the survival world, yeah, you can. Everyone's going to look different now, which is really really cool.
And to bring up some customization stuff, I don't quite understand how it works, but they did mention the paladin permutations and the trim pattern and trim material registry in the breakdown for the snapshot. And as a
Yeah,
result, new trim patterns and materials can be added via data pack. So that takes the level of customizability to a server like Empires and
yeah,
adds all kinds of new in-game options. And what's cool about it, excuse me, is you can add some sort of custom option that doesn't just show up because your player is using a data pack, a mod, or a resource pack. You can have that option tied to you still have to go find this trim and this
yep.
color and apply it to this armor. And so it's nice that you can have customizability tied to gameplay, not just resource packs and texture packs and things like that. We're going to read an email that came in from Centisius Prime talking about the aesthetics of the armor and one of the things that they think might be going on. Hello, Spawn Chunks. Big fan here. The recent Minecraft Java Snapshot introduced the ability to cosmetically trim armor to personalize it. Some players may like the aesthetics of gold armor with an amethyst trim or iron armor with a gold trim more than the standard netherite armor. So, just because different sets of armor trims look better than the durable set and fireproof nether armor, or netherite armor, pardon me, are players willing to downgrade the quality of their armor for a more pleasing aesthetic? Considering that most of the player base already wears some gold armor and some other armor after updates 116 and 118, quote unquote, downgrading armor might be a viable option for them. Would love to hear your thoughts. And so this is something that I was thinking about because I wear iron leggings and elytra,
Yep.
a gold helmet, and netherite boots because I'm constantly jumping off of stuff and breaking my ankles, and my boots were wearing out all the time and it was driving me nuts. So the first netherite armor I got was boots. I wear the iron leggings because it makes the game a bit harder for me without making it harder for other players on the server. And I died a couple times this weekend to just show how undergeared I am when I go into just a basic cave to fight a bunch of people. Now, granted, there was a lot of mobs, but I got my butt handed to me. It was gross. I got owned. And then, of course, I have the gold helmet to keep the piglins off my back whenever I want to go through the nether and look through my chests with my stuff. But with the gold helmet, at least they don't bother me. So when it comes to looking cool with a nice set of armor, with these trims not affecting any gameplay, like gold trim doesn't at this moment repel piglins. You have to have a gold helmet. You cannot do any of this to leather armor. Leather armor is excluded from trim because it has the dyeing system, and leather is what you need to walk on powdered snow. So like there's things where you're going to have to sacrifice your cool look. I don't know whether people are going to like enjoy the combo. I can see something like, you were mentioning how good netherite looks with everything. I can see netherite as a chest plate and leggings and boots with gold trim with a gold helmet. That would look fine.
Yeah.
Like you could pair your helmet with your trim, but you can't make a redstone helmet. So like at a certain point, you're just gonna have to make the sacrifice for functionality over fashion. And it's an interesting idea. And it led you and I just kind of like in our little Discord discussion before recording. I think notably absent from armor trim pieces is elytra.
Yeah, the most important thing. Once I got my elytra, I have never worn my chest plate again.
Yeah.
The only other time I've ever had to switch is if I go into like a bastion, and I need that extra protection in there, or maybe in the nether, if I know I'm gonna be fighting something that comes after me, but mostly in the nether, really, or if I'm in a cave. But at the same time, I still have my elytra with me in case there's a big cave and I can fly through it. But
Yeah.
very rarely do I take off my elytra. So I'm hardly ever gonna see that chest plate armor unless I'm just showing it off because it looks cool and I got the pattern for it. But we need elytra customization too, not just the Optifine cape. A lot of people don't have that option, so it's not even an option for most people. But yeah, we need those trims on elytra. That'll look so good. But then how are we going to do it? Because it's always going to be the elytra. It's only going to be the trim, and we're just going to be adding the trim to it. And it could look really cool, though. I think it could look really cool.
I think something that's missing from the elytra to look at what's happening with armor trim is that you have several different colors of armor, right? You've got gold armor, iron armor, netherite armor. And I think that elytra, it just comes in the one kind of like purpley gray color by default. So you can't change the color of the elytra. And so I think if you're going to add some sort of customization to elytra, I don't necessarily think that armor trim is the right way to fold it in. I still want some sort of elytra customization because otherwise all this cool armor that you have, you're still going to look like the clone army if everybody's got their wings on. And for me, I think that you have to be able to change the color of elytra. I think some sort of system, I don't know whether it's new,
maybe dyeable like the leather.
yeah, but but then that gets into a problem is that like elytra isn't technically armor. It's closer to leather because you repair it with membrane, right? With phantom membrane, and leather is not part of the trim system. So I don't know if you could fold elytra into the trim system and not have players, potentially be confused thinking that it's also armor? Because I don't think elytra give you any kind of armor
It
rating.
doesn't give you anything. No,
No.
no. It
So
takes away.
yeah, so it's one of those things where I think one of
Ah,
the easiest ways to do it would be to change the shape of the elytra, right? So if you make it like airplane wings or butterfly wings or angel wings, or like you could do something like that to help customize them and
yeah.
then be able to change the colors. And I'm okay with the colors not being a dye system, but being like redstone or gold, or have that maybe affect. Like for example, if you wanted something, some sort of wings that look technical, redstone wings would look technical. Think like Buzz
Yeah.
Lightyear type stuff. Or if you wanted, quartz wings could maybe be more angelic and more like a
Angelic.
bird, maybe with a feather or something. I don't know, but I like what they've done with the trim system and how they implement it with like a template. It gets you exploring the world. You have a pattern that's associated with it, and then you've got all these rare items in the game. I shouldn't say rare, but they're minerals and ores. They're not. It's not stone. It's not everywhere. You have to use gold or different materials to make this kind of stuff. The crafting is easy to wrap your head around. It's just there's so many recipes that it's hard to kind of articulate. But then if you take Elytra and if you're able to then customize the shapes and the patterns and the colors, I think you're going to be adding to this mission of expressing yourself in Minecraft, of doing the different colors. I mean, because let's face it, I mean, you and I as adults are going to go with what kind of looks the coolest, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there are players out there of all ages that are going to go with like rainbow barf. They're going to look like,
The silliest option available.
and just
Yeah.
have it be completely bright and colorful and garish. And I mean, like, all the power to you. You can do that. I don't know if it's necessarily good that there are over 600 options. I kind of think that some of those things could have been limited to kind of make it a little bit easier to wrap your head around, but at the same time you don't want to limit the imagination of kids that play the game. So like I can see both sides of the coin. It is overwhelming though.
I've always liked the give me a lot, then that not give me that much, and then
Hmm.
ask for more. So I think they did this pretty much to be like, oh, here's a lot. Just don't ask for anything else. So here you go. And take all these options, but at the same time, you don't have to use it. That's the cool part. Like if one, I think for most people, they're gonna find the one they like. They're gonna stick to that, and then you're never gonna see it again. And then they're off to do whatever else they're doing. Once they get that pair, that set that they love, like most people, they're just gonna like latch onto that, and that's pretty much the last time
Yeah.
like you're gonna see the trims. And once you get all the sets, once you get all the templates, that mission is done. That's off your little Minecraft to do checklist, and you're probably not gonna even bother with it again. In the long run, it's gonna be a rush at the start, and then you're not gonna really see much of it later on down the line. I don't think.
So to wrap things up, we had another email come in from Speedy14, and I'll summarize. They were basically wondering if we think we might see trim applied to other things in the game, like tools and subsequently weapons. And I think that this kind of brings up something that I see a lot. I'll point out, of course, that armor trim is still in snapshots. It's in experimental features. There's a lot of things that are probably going to change about this before it actually gets released. But I find a lot of times lately Mojang will release a texture or they'll release a block set and they'll get about 80% of the way there. Like, I really want stairs and slabs in packed mud, but we don't have them.
Oh, I wish. I wish that can help so much.
And you and I just spent like a good 10, 15 minutes talking about Elytra and how cool would it be if Elytra was customizable? And it feels very strange that at this point in time, it might change, that it's not, considering that they are now adding armor customization. And so the natural progression is to say, well, what about tools and subsequently weapons? Again, not to affect the functionality of the weapon, because that would affect PvP and everything else, but instead just like change the aesthetics, change the color, give it a trim or a band or something. Is that something you would like to see added to the game, as weapon customization and tool customization?
Why not? Like, if it doesn't affect gameplay and it's just for looks and aesthetics, I already do it on Empires. It's a little bit completely different of what a small trim would look. But we're completely making the whole entire like. Some people have battle axes,
Right.
a giant scythe. Out of a hoe. It's a little exaggerated, but just to add trims to weapon, I think it's coming. Like, I personally think this is just the beginning. They're just giving us what's available now, but I do believe if we go the way that they're going, everything's going to be customizable. I have a feeling. I just a small inkling inside. If they're starting out with this, it's just like a what they had ready now. But I have a feeling if they're doing this for armor, why not tools? If it doesn't affect anything, I see it easily done through the same smithing table. The smithing table is going to be the most overpowered block. It's going to customize everything. Or maybe it switches to an anvil. Maybe give more anvil functionality because it is a weapon.
Yep.
So it would make sense as a new part of an anvil. Or maybe just a completely different block, but or even maybe the grindstone. I can see it on a grindstone because it kind of looks like that you put in a actual blacksmith and you're grinding it down. But in any one of those, if it's not the smithing table, I can see it done in any one of those other two, and I don't think it's gonna be as hard as pretty much just apply what they're doing right here to the armor and just do it with the weapons and tools and stuff. And I think it would look really nice, like especially adding on a netherite pickaxe, like just a small, maybe just change the handle, maybe make it look not the size, but just a small trim around that. Maybe just the edges of a pickaxe or the sword. Imagine you have like a redstone lining to the sword. It looks like there's blood on it, so it looks really cool. You can put that up on a wall somewhere, and it'll look really scary if you see somebody running down chasing you with a what looks like blood on a sword. So I think it would look really cool. It'll add just to the customization. Like if it doesn't hurt, I don't see how anyone would be against it. You have a bunch of ugly stuff. What if somebody takes your pickaxe that you have on the wall and then messes with it and adds something ugly to it? And that's something I don't know. Can you change it once it's done? I don't think I've read anything. Like once you added
Hmm.
the armor brim to something, can you reverse it and change it to another piece? Like I only have one netherite helmet. Do I have to get three of them to get three different pieces, or can I just keep changing it over and over again as much as I want? And that's another thing.
Calm Chipmunk in our live chat is saying yes, you can. And my guess is that
Good.
it costs the 7
It
diamonds
costs the
again.
same
Yeah,
amount. Yeah,
you
the
have to
same
make a
diamonds
template and you have to do it again, and you
over
could
and
just
over again.
it replace like your redstone trim would be replaced with your gold trim if that's what you wanted to do, but
Yeah.
it would
Oh, that's
cost
good.
the template duplication, which makes sense. I'm glad that, and
That
I'm
makes
glad
sense.
that they would do that. I'm with you. I agree that weapon customization is probably going to happen. I think players are going to ask for it for sure.
Yeah.
And again, like something as simple as something that El Mango pointed out in his video is that if you've got two pickaxes that you use a lot, your fortune pickaxe and your silk touch pickaxe, right now he differentiates his by his silk touch is netherite and his fortune is diamond, just
Diamond.
because it's
Yep.
easy to see in a chest which one is which. I do it by naming them something silly. My silk
Yeah,
touch
that's what I
pickaxe
do.
is always like a
Same.
soft and whimsical name, and then my fortune pickaxe is something like aggressive, like Harriet the Hammer, or like something really
Yeah.
that makes Hulk smash kind of stuff. And to be able to do something like change a band on the handle. Minecraft pickaxes are so iconic. I can't see them taking anything and changing the shape of it, but I can see them maybe embedding some sort of jewel in the head or something that doesn't affect like the on-screen presence, but does affect how it looks in your inventory, which would be the pommel, like on a sword, like having something about the
Yeah.
pommel, the base changing. I like the idea of a jewel embedded in the sword. You could change the color of the sword. I think it would be kind of fun to have, a sword with like a gold trim up the middle or red trim. Because sometimes swords in medieval history, and Minecraft has a lot of medieval stuff in it. They had runes etched up them or things like
Oh
that. You could
yeah.
come up with all kinds of cool ideas.
Yeah, you'll see like a gold band surrounding a hilt or something,
Hmm.
and then the sword is just super long. So that'd be kind of cool if they do change some. I think the purists will be against it if they have
Yeah.
different sizes, and you can actually make a double-sided battle axe for your actual axe and make it into a weapon. But I think it'll be cool. I don't know. It may be a mod to do this, but whenever you add a specific enchant to, like, say, a sword, it adds an effect to that sword. Like if you add fire aspect to a sword, you have like a little flaming spark to it or something whenever you
Hmm.
hit something, and that'll be kind of cool. It's a little bit modded in that sense, but Minecraft is getting more and more modded looking every day, so I wouldn't put it against them if something crazy like that happens at one point.
And I think to go with the theme of like expressing yourself as a player, to be able to change your tool so that your tools look different than your friends' tools, and you've put your own spin on it, I think would be, an excellent addition. I don't know exactly how they would implement it, but I agree with you that something like the grindstone or the smithing table would make a good deal. But between weapons that we hope are coming, elytra we really hope are coming, and the
Yes.
new armor trim, like I will embrace the new rainbow barf butterfly armada when it arrives.
Oh
Like I just
yes.
the more expressive and more creative options we have, those that want to fly within a separate set of rules can have themselves look like hot rods, and then those that just want to look like the preschool playground, go for it. Like I mean, it's going to be a really interesting world moving forward in Minecraft. That is unfortunately where we have to wrap up the show this week. You can find more information about the spawn chunks and links to some of the things that Mythical Sausage and I talked about at thespawnchunks.com. Music for the show was composed by Johnny. The Spawn Chunks is proud to be a listener-supported podcast. If you get value out of the show, why not consider putting a little bit of value back in? Visit patreon.com/thespawnchunks to join the community, where pledging at any level will get you an invite to the Patreon-only Discord chat. And you can participate in things like the live show recording and the monthly Minecraft audio hangout. We currently have 335 patrons, down just one from last week. If you would like to be patron number 336, check out patreon.com/thespawnchunks. Special thanks go out to Hunter555, Jumbo Sale, and Yitz, our content engineers on this episode. Thank you so much for your support. Sharing the podcast with your friends is the easiest way to support the show. You can find us at The Spawn Chunks on Twitter and Instagram. Personal recommendations are by far the best way to share the podcast. Just tell a friend about The Spawn Chunks and where they can go to listen. That includes iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. You can email the show at spawnchunkmail@gmail.com. The RSS feed is linked on the spawnchunks.com, and the Patreon-only RSS feed is on the Patreon page. That's where you can listen to the render distance, the extended version of the podcast. My name is Joel Duggan, and everything I am up to online is at joelduggan.com, including links to the Sizzle Cafe, my other podcast about sci-fi and fantasy entertainment. You can follow me at Joel Duggan on social media, and Joel Duggan on Twitch, where I stream at least 3 days a week. Lego on Fridays, building the NASA Space Shuttle Discovery, Minecraft on Saturday and Sunday, and of course, a sprinkling of Minecraft streams during the week as of late. Mythical, thank you so much, my friend, for being on the show, filling in for Johnny while he's away. Where can people find you and all the Minecrafty things that you do online?
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. But you can find me at youtube.com/the mythical sausage. I'm working on right now my hardcore series, and we're midway through our Empire season 2, which is going really strong, and we have some really big plans coming up. So stay tuned for that. Even after the crossover we have with Hermitcraft, we have some crazy stuff happening soon. But you can also catch me on Twitter at mythical sausage, and also on Instagram, mythicals_Minecraft, and you can see every build that I've ever done. It's a lot of builds in there. So go check that out.
Thanks for visiting the Spawn Chunks. The world outside is infinite with a fresh new trim.